First of all, he has Jacob Weitering going, and what does he need to do if he's to play on Sunday?
You should get through most of the training session today. I don't think really the requirement for us is to have him do 100%. Fortunately, he's done plenty of the pre-season and had heaps of training and played every game. So, yeah, he'll go through his paces a bit today. But no, we expect it to be ready to go.
Out of players who can play through a bit of pain, he must be towards the top end of players who can tolerate that. He seemed to have a really bad run of corkies last year. He's just able to keep playing with it.
He doesn't like talking about that. But yeah, look, he's got a great tolerance. He's when you have to get through a full season, there's some times where you're not necessarily feeling 100%. But at the same time, like they're out there to be able to perform, and once you walk inside the white line, you're fair game to everyone. So look, when he'll be out there, you'll be fit, ready to go, and he's going to have a pretty good challenge on his hands against Geelong this weekend.
Obviously, it was pretty unfortunate with Harry going out with concussion last week, but he's back this week. Must be an exciting end for you guys.
Yeah, it is, and I think sort of for our forward mix, just having a little bit of continuity, a little bit of cohesion up there will help. It's probably those magnets have moved a fair bit in the first probably 5-6 weeks of the year. So, to be able to sort of have Harry and Charlie up there and leading up the front, and obviously we had a few smalls that had an impact in the game last week as well. So there's a sort of collective response that they've gone after the forwards, and obviously would love to be able to settle them down up there, and so they can settle into their roles and obviously settle into the performance.
Can Lewis Young play in the same forward line as those two? Is that something that you consider?
Yeah, possibly, absolutely. Look, I think everything's form-based. He certainly asked that question, that's for sure. So, look, what he did last week and what he did against the Bulldogs, for him to be able to come in and almost play that traditional utility is, been pretty handy for us. So, knowing that we've got a player that we can flip forward and back, I think we've seen across the competition that if you have that flexibility in your side to be able to impact at different stages of the game, then it gives you that tactical flexibility that you need to be able to have within game, and sometimes you can do that.
Two-pronged question. Was it a hard call to drop Sam Doherty last week? / was it an easy call to bring him back for a big game against Geelong at the G on Sunday?
Well, it's all sort of still performance-based. We obviously feel like the guys played a strong game. They're pretty well settled. Doc won't play this week. I'm sort of happy to declare that. He's part of obviously our squad. So yeah, obviously go back and get the form that he needs, and obviously fight his way back in. But we feel like we've the side that we were able to put out there the last couple of weeks has been fairly settled, and so there won't be too many changes when it comes to that side.
Probably had Geelong's measure last year in that most recent meeting, and there was a really good clash in the sort of corresponding game last season. What have you made of them in the last few weeks?
Oh, they're very aggressive in the way that they play. I don't think I'd use the word measure. But yeah, it's certainly been two really good contests. Expected to be the same. Obviously they've got a lot of threats, behind the ball and right throughout the whole ground. So they've added a couple of pretty important pieces to them that obviously help their run. But they're an aggressive side, and so we've got to make sure that we defensively are pretty sound. We don't necessarily be sitting in a game that we feel like we're in a shootout on, but. Obviously, we'll adapt what's needed when we need to be able to do it, but they're a pretty aggressive side when it comes to their ball movement.
Seems like their midfield has an extra prong now with Bailey Smith in there with Max Holmes. Do you consider a run with role for one of them, or is it just about team accountability?
We've tended mostly to take on the team, and we'd like to think that we've got a few things for them to consider as well, which I'm sure they'll put their attention towards. At the right time. So there'll be somewhat a team approach to it, but clearly guys like that, they're going to have an influence on the game at various stages of the game. So I guess as a playing group, as a coaching group, we'll have to sort of consider that at the time and see what we need to be able to do about it. But they've got a real good, flexibility in their side. So while Holmes has sort of played midfield, he can also flip forward and he can also flip back. So he's got a few different positions to play based on what they're trying to achieve.
Feel like your season is sort of kick-started now after that win, just the nature of it, or do you feel like you need to build a few more weeks of evidence before you can say you're humming again?
I think we're just looking for the consistency of how we turn up every single week, and that's what I've been probably more impressed with. In the early stages of the year, clearly the results weren't going our way, but felt like what we're doing here to prepare ourselves was as good as we've been. So we've sort of probably tried to double down on those habits and just make sure we take care of what we can control of and not get too lost about what's been said about us or even the results that have gone our way, and sort of keep our eyes in and look at the next opponent in front of us. So I don't think that'll change. I hope it doesn't change based on whether we're winning or we're losing, because I feel like that if you have that level of consistency and have those habits over time, it'll work itself out. That doesn't mean necessarily that gives us an even greater chance of winning this game, but it does give you a percentage chance of being able to win the game. And I think we're playing the right way, we're valuing the right things, and that's obviously going to be put to the test this week against Geelong.
Does it relieve a bit of tension or any pressure in the group, a win like that last week after it felt like it had sort of been building up in the few weeks before?
I think we got sort of more taken by the game itself and our contribution towards it and the role we got to play within that. So there's not many games you get to walk into and sort of say that the game, the event is bigger than the game itself. And for us, having the Royal Children's was a really significant thing for us. It talks into our purpose really well. And but now that game's done, and now we move on to the next one, and we understand the challenge that's in front of us. And what we try to do is play to that, I guess, that standard every single week, and it's got to start first with what we do around the ball and the type of contest and pressure we need to bring and the selfless nature we want to play, and that's the standards that we want to bring to every game that we play, and it'd be no different this week.
Well, so with all due respect to West Coast and North Melbourne, do you feel like you need a big scalp to really kickstart the season? Like it's 2 wins, 4 points is 4 points, but do you feel like a big scalp like the Cats this week is what you need to get going?
I think any time you get continuity on results always helps. But I don't necessarily decipher the wins by who they are. Competition is tough. We respect every single opponent that we play. It's not me to determine what type of win it was. I'm really more concerned about how we play and what our approach needs to be and the intent we bring towards it. So there's clearly a standard we need to be able to bring. We need to be able to play it for 120 minutes. This thing's not going to be done on 20 minutes of football. I would imagine there would be momentum swings in our game. So how do we hang tough in those moments? Because Geelong are a really good football team. They're super efficient in the way that they play. So our defence is going to have to be on, and we're going to have to stay connected right throughout the game to get this job done.